Hello everyone, welcome to the Luke Branquinho Show. I want to welcome in Jill Laflin. This woman from a young age to now has absolutely owned it. She is an actress, a model, a TV personality, a sportscaster, but this is the one that I love the most. She is an NBA scout. In a male-dominant world, this woman is breaking the barriers. Jill, thank you for joining.
Thank you.
In your line of work, I see obviously cheerleader, NBA scout, which is huge, and going into a predominantly male role, a man's world. How do you carry that into, your barrel racing and stuff like that? That just has to make you tougher when you go to compete in that event, doesn't it?
I think growing up with being a tomboy, I had really thick skin. Being, around my dad, his horses, it kind of built in this kind of cowgirl grit in anything, I do, whether it's on horseback, whether it's in my profession, whether it's running my charity, whether it's just in my personal life. I think, having that strong-willed mind and being able to kind of have that conquer the world type attitude, I think that's kind of just how I set my day and my tone for everything that I do.
And your barrel horse, you had told me earlier that the horse came from the Holman family?
So Shelley Holman, she actually patterned my mare, Elsa Ray. And then John Holman, I did put a lot of rides on her as well. She's bred as a roping horse. She doesn't have the stop that you would think she would have as a roping horse, but she's a great little mare, small little mare, only 14.3, Palomino. She's the love of my life. She's like my child, basically. If I could figure out a way, Luke, for her to be in my house, I just got to figure out what to do with the shit. I'd be good. She'd be in my house.
Talk to me about early on. How did you want to become a cheerleader?
It's funny. I've got so many different facets and layers of my life, from the horses to being a dancer. I was in the San Francisco Ballet School for so long in the academy and danced competitively. And then also was, riding my horses and loved going to the games with my dad. And so it was kind of a combination of okay, how can I have the best seats in the house, be able to dance for my favorite team? And so I tried out for the Golden State Warriors, ended up making that team. I was still a senior in high school.
Oh, wow.
And then went on to cheer for the 49ers for 2 years, got a Super Bowl ring with them, and then went over to the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders and did a year with them as well.
Well, watching that, was it HBO special on the Dallas Cowgirls? That is some intense shit you guys have to go through.
They were really rough on us. We had a 2-pound leeway. That's it. So if we were over or under, then we couldn't cheer in the game. We had games, once a week, but we had practices every single day, 5 to 6 hour practices every day.
Oh, wow.
We didn't get paid for practices. We got paid $13 a game. So I got paid $130 by at the end of the year because they taxed our checks. We didn't get tickets to the game. We had to buy our own tickets. So you were basically paying him to be a cheerleader. And he said that first, right out the gate. When we made the team, he came in, he said, "Hey, I want to tell you ladies, girls will pay me to be a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader." That's what he said. And for me, I used it as a stepping stone. I wanted to move into different areas of sports. And I knew that it was going to be a great stepping stone and great networking and meet a lot of people. But it wasn't something, obviously, I was going to keep doing, season after season.
And then doing what you love to do and not getting paid, that's a lot like rodeo. You do what you love to do, you pay to do it. And if you're really good at it, you might make a living. If not, you're still doing what you love to do, but you're not making shit.
That's true, because you got the entry fees, you got a hall.
Got to buy your own tickets.
Exactly. It's a passion, and you do things regardless of what you're paid or not. And then eventually you hope, right, that it does turn into something where you're able to make a living.
I want to ask this question. In everything you've done in your career, who are some of the coolest people you ever met?
If you look at the sports side, I think it'd have to be Michael Jordan. He sacrificed so much, but the blood, sweat, and tears. He's always had that competitive, nature about him. He had that chip in his shoulder because he didn't make his high school team. And so he kind of stayed with him to prove people wrong. And then he ended up being one of the all-time greatest. So I probably would have to say also Donald Trump. I met Donald Trump before he was president, back when I was in pageants, and he was hilarious. Just a funny guy. Just what you see is what you get. And then when I moved on to work for the Lakers, the owner at the time, Dr. Jerry Buss, was really good friends with Donald as well. And so I was able to go to a couple lunches with him as well in New York, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, and Jill, what do you have coming up next that the fans that are watching can expect to see from you?
Well, I've always got, right now on CBS Sports, and so I have that on ESPN Radio as well. So I've got my 2 shows there as well, and I'm going to be doing a new show with FanDuel. So I've got that going on, and Sports Illustrated. So we'll be doing some specials. And what's really exciting is that I finally got Sports Illustrated to convince them to do some rodeo. Just kind of let the mainstream people know about the rodeo world and how hard it is and how the life is and being on the road, and just kind of show the stories that I just don't think people realize very much. So I'm really excited to actually be able to bring those stories to ESPN and the mainstream.
With that, I appreciate you coming on, learning about you and everything you do and how involved you are with rodeo, and I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thanks, Luke, for having me on.
You bet. Thank you.